On the wedding day, my boyfriend unexpectedly regretted the marriage for his childhood sweetheart. I clutched his sleeve in humble entreaty, but he flung it away harshly. When can't a marriage be held? She has been in a car accident with her life hanging in the balance. Could you refrain from being so affected? The wedding is postponed. We will proceed whenever I return. With these two cold statements, he stormed out the door without once looking back. The bridesmaids asked me with concern, "Ivy, is the wedding still on? Should we notify the guests of the postponement?" I gripped my wedding dress tightly, yet my gaze became resolute. Why not proceed? Isn't his twin brother backstage? Dress him in the groom's attire, and the wedding will continue as scheduled. After only 1 month of dating, I defied my family's opposition and resolutely entered into marriage with Eric. "Ivy, you look truly beautiful today." Eric's hand gently caressed my face as I leaned happily into his embrace. However, I was unaware that this happiness would soon be shattered by a phone call. "Ivy, I'm taking this call." Since it was an unknown number, he put it on speaker. Assuming it was a sales call, we were surprised when a woman's faint cry for help came through. "Eric, I've been in a car accident and might be dying. Before I die, I just want to hear your voice one more time." I immediately recognized the woman's voice. It was Eric's childhood sweetheart, Luna. Eric's heart skipped a beat, and mine plummeted even further. A few years ago, Luna broke up with Eric and married abroad. Having been Eric's sidekick for so many years, I thought I finally had a chance to pursue him, but he continued to string me along without any clear commitment. It was only a month ago, upon hearing of Luna's pregnancy, that Eric finally gave up and coldly accepted my advances. Yet, I was not saddened by his perfunctory attitude. Instead, I cherished it as a treasure. Even though we had just started dating, I immediately told my parents I wanted to marry him. My parents immediately objected. "You've only been together for a month, what's the rush? Do you really know him?" But what they didn't know was that I had liked him for 10 years. From age 15 to 25 now. At the high school awards ceremony, his speech made my heart flutter. Even knowing he and Luna were childhood sweethearts with an ambiguous relationship, I unhesitatingly became his sidekick, hoping only that he would notice me. This was also why I was eager to marry, as if without marriage, he could leave me at any moment. I thought today my dream would finally come true, but this phone call completely shattered it. Ignoring my presence beside him, Eric shouted desperately into the phone, "Luna! Have you returned to the country? Where are you? Is your injury serious? Tell me quickly. I'm coming to save you." Luna, however, only apologized repeatedly, "I'm sorry. Eric, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have abandoned you back then, I had my own difficulties. Actually, my marriage to that foreigner was fake, I did it just to get a green card. My pregnancy was unavoidable, the foreigner forced me. I'm sorry. It's been so long, and I've never been able to let you go. They said you were in a relationship, so I didn't dare disturb you, fearing it would affect you both. But a few days ago, when I heard you were getting married, I couldn't hold back anymore. I bought a ticket back home, just wanting to catch a distant glimpse of you outside the wedding, that would have been enough. But as soon as I arrived at your wedding venue, I got into a car accident. Now I feel like my blood is draining away. Perhaps this is karma. Eric, I love you." After saying this, the call abruptly ended. "Luna! Luna!" Eric cried out her name in anguish, tears streaming down his face. I had never seen him shed such tears for me. "She's nearby. I have to save her, I have to save her." He even disregarded my wedding and was about to rush out. I quickly grabbed him. "Eric! What about our wedding?" He roared impatiently, "When can't a marriage be held? She's in a car accident with her life uncertain, can you stop being so pretentious?" I never expected him to say that, and aggrieved tears burst forth. "But the guests are all here. You know my family is in business, the guests are all bosses, elderly ones who specially flew in to bless us. Do you want me to go out and tell them the wedding is cancelled, please go home?" Yet he harshly flung me away. I fell to the ground, but he sneered. Just tell them the wedding is postponed. What's the big deal if those old folks wait a bit? We'll hold it whenever I return. With these cold words, he left without looking back. Left alone, I frantically called and messaged him. I was wrong, please come back, okay? Come back in half an hour, okay? When will you return? I'll wait for you. However, in response to my humble pleas, he simply replied get lost and then blocked me. I could no longer hold back and covered my face in sobs. The bridesmaids heard the commotion and rushed over, wiping my tears while asking, is the wedding still happening? It has to. There are so many bosses outside who've been waiting for half a day. Suddenly telling them it's off would offend many people. But the groom is gone, what can we do? Is Ivy supposed to host the wedding alone? She'd become the laughingstock of the city. If there's no other way, let's postpone it. The bridesmaids chimed in one after another, full of concern for the wedding. Yet I only felt chilled to the bone. Eric, your concern for the wedding doesn't even match that of my bridesmaids. Your concern for me falls far short of theirs. I gripped my hem tightly, my gaze firm. No need to postpone, the wedding will proceed as usual. Upon hearing this, the bridesmaids thought I had gone mad from grief. Ivy, are you serious? How can you hold it alone? Are you really going on stage by yourself? Seeing their pitying looks, I smiled. Who said I'm alone? Isn't Eric's twin brother backstage? Bring him over. They were all shocked. Eric has a twin brother? When did this happen? We had no idea. I explained, they were born as twin brothers, but the older one had congenital heart disease. Eric's parents couldn't afford it and had no choice but to abandon him at the orphanage door. Later, when their conditions improved, they regretted abandoning that child every moment, and he became a lingering regret for Eric's parents. Since I loved Eric so much, I naturally treated his parents as my own. Seeing them live in regret every day, I couldn't bear it, so I used my family's connections to investigate his whereabouts. Just 3 days ago, I finally found him and invited him to our wedding, originally intending to surprise Eric and his parents on this joyous day. But on this happy occasion, Eric abandoned me for another woman. As I was speaking, the door suddenly opened. Entering was a tall, slender man with fine hair draping over his sharp brow bones, eyelashes like raven feathers, distinct and clear, with pitch-black eyes. At first glance, he looked identical to Eric. But upon closer inspection, there were many differences. He was much thinner than Eric, with sharper brow bones. Compared to Eric, he exuded an air of untamed defiance, and a mole at the corner of his eye made him appear even more irreverent. Seeing my makeup smeared from crying and my disheveled appearance, he actually laughed. The bridesmaids angrily said, "What are you laughing at?" "Sorry, it's just, are you sure you want to go on stage like this?" Only then did they notice my ruined makeup and hurried out to contact the makeup artist. He, however, showed no awkwardness of a stranger and sat down directly beside me. "Where's the groom? Where did my younger brother go?" I didn't answer directly but placed a suit on his lap. "He's dead." While examining the suit, he casually asked, "Dead? How did he die?" As if venting anger, I gritted my teeth, "Hit by a car and killed." "Really?" "Hey, it seems someone outside was hit by a car, but it was a woman, and not seriously, no blood even." My hand unconsciously tightened on the wedding dress. "The woman he mentioned who was hit wasn't that Luna? I thought her injury was severe. But there wasn't even blood." From the way she called Eric earlier, anyone unaware would think she was on the verge of death. Thinking of this made my heart ache even more. Clearly Luna wasn't seriously hurt, yet Eric still hadn't returned. At that moment, the bridesmaids brought in the makeup artist for an emergency touch-up. The artist was startled by my appearance. How did the bride's makeup get ruined from crying? "This was done early this morning." "Did you argue with the groom?" I calmly said, "The groom is dead." The artist dropped the brush in fright. "Dead?" The bridesmaids then spoke. "Not dead, he ran off with another woman." The artist cursed angrily. "Might as well be dead. The guests outside are urging, and now he's run off. How is the bride supposed to face this?" I smiled. It's fine, if he can run off with another woman, I can marry another man too. I looked at Eric's twin brother. Only then did he realize, what do you mean? I fondled the suit in his arms. You look most like Eric, I'm changing grooms, and you're the most suitable. He quickly returned the suit. You'd better find someone else, I'm not interested in my brother's wife. As he was about to stand and leave, I pulled him back. If you're not interested in your brother's wife, surely you're interested in money? I'm an only child, my dad is a business owner, my mom a celebrity, and those bosses outside have all collaborated with my family. Just for the wedding setup, my parents spent $3 million, with each banquet table no less than $20,000. My family prepared a dowry for me, 3 commercial properties, 1 estate, 1 villa, over $1 million in cash, and 100 taels of gold. Just the gift money from outside could amount to over $1 million. Moreover, Eric and I were only together for a month, without cohabiting, no de facto marriage, no property entanglements, so I'm not really your sister-in-law. Now, are you still not interested in me? Clearly, he wavered upon hearing the first sentence. He took back the suit and carefully put it on. Wife, why didn't you mention these conditions earlier? His quick change of attitude left the bridesmaids dumbfounded. Ivy. He's clearly changing his tune for your money. Exactly. Look at his thug-like appearance, marrying him is worse than marrying Eric. At least Eric is highly educated with a good job. I glanced at him, expecting him to be angry at these words, but he appeared indifferent, merely adjusting his collar and hair. Hey! We're saying all this about you, and you don't refute it? He smiled. Refute what? You're my wife's best friends, so aren't you my little mothers-in-law? Who argues with their mothers-in-law right now? Even if I refute you, it should wait until after the wedding, right? Saying this, he pulled out several red envelopes from his pocket. Come on, you've worked hard this time, take whatever. Everyone was stunned. Eric's brother, who looked like a thug, was surprisingly adept at handling matters. In contrast to Eric, who appeared proper but showed no care for the wedding, relying entirely on them to bustle about. They fell silent, merely quietly accepting the red envelopes. I stopped him. You don't earn easily, let me give them the red envelopes. But he suddenly leaned into my ear. It's fine, you'll support me, right? My face flushed red instantly, even my ears tinted. No one had ever been this intimate with me. Seeing my reaction, he laughed more. I don't know how my brother treated you. Did he make you live like a widow every day? I recalled all my intimate moments with Eric. During high school, when Eric and Luna were ambiguous. Sometimes they argued, and he would deliberately touch my head, put his arm around my shoulders, his fingers twining through my hair in circles. At that time, I only immersed myself in his sweetness, completely unaware that he did so just to make Luna jealous. Later, in university, they finally got together, and I gave up pursuing him, but he and Luna often broke up. Each time, he would call me to accompany him for meals or to the library, and post ambiguous Facebook updates, deliberately showing my hand. But I was ultimately just a pawn in their romance. Soon Luna would get jealous, seek him out, and they would reconcile. Later, when Luna married and got pregnant, this farce finally ended, and he got together with me. However, during our month of dating, I truly lived no differently from a widow. He always refused to meet using overtime as an excuse. Even if I went downstairs from his work to invite him to dinner, he would eat and run, saying he had to work overtime. But clearly, his job was arranged by my parents through me. I knew best whether he had that much work. My heart ached for a moment. Never mind, let this be the last time I ache for him. At that moment, the MC came to urge, are the groom and bride ready? The wedding is about to start. I quickly stopped the MC. Wait. The groom's name needs to be changed. Otherwise, during the vows, the MC would ask, Ms. Ivy, do you wish to be with Mr. Eric forever, in poverty or wealth? I don't. I won't be with Eric. The MC was stunned, seemingly never having encountered such a bizarre request. But he was professional. All right, what should the groom's name be changed to? I turned to ask him, what's your name? He seemed unprepared for me to go all out, stunned for a moment, helplessly saying, I have no name, they all call me Ethan. At the wedding venue, the guests had gathered joyfully. I followed the procedure, holding my father's hand down the red carpet. After I took the stage, Ethan came up from the other side. At that moment, everyone's gaze was still focused on the bride, lavishly praising how beautiful I looked today. It wasn't until I stepped forward and my father handed me to him that people began noticing him. Oh, what a perfect match, talented man and beautiful woman. Perhaps because he looked so much like Eric, or because the guests were mostly from my side, no one realized the wedding had a new groom. But secrets can't be kept forever. During the tea-serving ceremony, we were exposed. I picked up the tea and offered it to my in-laws. Dad, Mom, please have tea. Yet they didn't accept it, nor look at me, focusing entirely on Ethan. My father-in-law kept rubbing his eyes, which turned red, staring fixedly at Ethan, his whole body trembling. My mother-in-law was even more overcome, tears flowing before words, her face ashen, standing dazed and nearly fainting from crying. My heart sank. Indeed, only parents can recognize twins. Ethan had been identified. They delayed accepting my tea, and the guests began murmuring. What's going on? The mother-in-law isn't accepting the daughter-in-law's tea? Exactly. Ivy marrying into their family is already marrying down, and they dare give her a show of authority. Exactly. Do they really think her maternal family is easy to bully? The mother-in-law still didn't accept the tea, just looking at me resentfully, her gaze seeming to ask, how did you find him? Why are you marrying him? Where does that leave Eric? The audience below pitied me, but only I knew the in-laws weren't giving me a show of authority. On the contrary, I feared they would shout the truth publicly. You're not Eric. Are you the child we abandoned? How can you marry her? She's your brother's girlfriend. After all, which parents could accept their daughter-in-law marrying another son? If the people below learned the truth, our family would lose face, and my parents' company would be affected. However, while I was nervous with sweaty palms, Ethan suddenly released my hand and offered them the tea. Dad, Mom, please have tea. Hearing the child they had abandoned call them Dad and Mom, and personally serve them tea, was something they dreamed of and yearned for even in death. In that moment, they suddenly cried heartbrokenly, no longer pursuing the matter, and shakily accepted the tea. Ethan quickly pinched my hand. I understood his intent and hurriedly poured another cup. Dad, Mom, please have tea. They accepted this cup without hesitation. This meant they accepted the absurdity of me changing grooms and marrying Ethan. Finally, the MC began the vows. Ms. Ivy, do you wish to be with Mr. Ethan forever, in poverty or wealth? Thus, from start to finish, no one noticed Eric had already abandoned me. Instead, they immersed in the wedding's joy, continuously blessing us. After the banquet ended, it was already evening. Everyone was thoroughly drunk, supporting each other as they left. The in-laws stayed with us, crying as they hugged Ethan, asking how he had fared these 20-plus years, if his illness was cured, if he had attended school, where he made a living, why he was so thin. But Ethan, unlike during the tea-serving when he was accommodating, directly pushed them away. Whether I've fared well or not has nothing to do with you. The mother-in-law broke down, sobbing as she asked, Child, didn't you just serve us tea? Doesn't that mean you've forgiven us? He coldly replied, I was just afraid you'd reveal the truth in front of the guests. I couldn't let my wife lose face. That tea didn't mean forgiveness, it was just to shut you up. Before my parents could figure out what was happening, Eric arrived in a hurry, dust-covered. Seeing the banquet cleared and guests gone, he originally wanted to interrogate, why are the guests all gone? But hindered by my parents standing in front of me, he restrained himself somewhat, humbly explaining to them. Dad, Mom, my old classmate had a car accident here, I had to leave Ivy to save her first. Now I'm back, and the wedding can proceed. He added, but where have the guests gone? Didn't they wait for me? Sigh, after all, they're bosses, it's normal if they don't want to give me face. Fortunately, both parents are here, let's quickly hold the wedding right here. He thought my parents would indulge him as before. But they didn't follow his lead, instead asking in shock, "What exactly is going on?" My in-laws also approached, eager to know what had happened, why the wedding suddenly had a new groom, and one who was the other son they had long searched for. But Eric hadn't grasped their intent yet, still urging me to hold the wedding. Finally, I couldn't hold back and sarcastically said, "Weren't you regretting the marriage for your ex-girlfriend this morning? Why are you now urging me to hurry with the wedding?" His face changed instantly. He never expected me to expose him in front of both parents. Ignoring my parents' presence, he roared at me directly, "Ivy, can't you be a bit kinder? I did go to save my ex-girlfriend this morning, so what? She had a car accident nearby, shouldn't I save her?" At that moment, my parents finally reacted, pointing at his nose and cursing, "Eric, today is your wedding day. Yet you left my daughter to rush and save your ex-girlfriend? What does her accident have to do with you? Are you a police officer or a doctor? Do you need to save her? You know this is the city center, right? Let alone a person in an accident, even if a dog was hit, traffic police would arrive immediately. Does it fall to you to save her? Moreover, even if you wanted to visit her out of humanitarianism, couldn't you wait until after the wedding and toasts? Can't you prioritize? Are you heartless enough to leave your fiancée alone here, waiting for others to gossip about her?" My parents' words left him speechless, his face flushing red, mottled with blue and purple. And I had to add, how could he not prioritize? He prioritizes best, in his eyes, Luna is most important, what am I? Hearing this, Eric gnashed his teeth, "Ivy, can you stop saying that? Haven't I returned? Do you still want to hold the wedding or not?" At that moment, his phone suddenly rang. He quickly hung up guiltily. Needless to say, it must be Luna. Heh. No wonder he's suddenly eager to hold the wedding with me. Turns out he's rushing back to care for Luna. He thought I would humbly beg him as before, but I said nothing, my gaze toward him filled only with hatred and coldness. His heart suddenly sank. This was the first time I looked at him this way. Previously, my gazes always carried appeasement. But he remained stubborn. "Ivy, I'm asking you one last time, do you want to hold the wedding?" Before my parents could curse him, I firmly replied, "No, get lost." "Fine. Ivy. Don't regret it. Don't forget how humble you were when pursuing me. How lowly. Even if you kneel or cry begging me later, I'll absolutely never marry you." With that, he stepped forward to pull his parents. "Dad. Mom. Let's go." Yet his parents harshly flung him off. He looked at them incredulously. "Dad. Mom. What do you mean? She's not planning to marry me, aren't you coming with me?" However, his parents said words that shocked him profoundly. "Go where? Ivy is our daughter-in-law. Today is our son's joyous wedding day with her, don't come causing trouble." Eric couldn't believe it, eyes wide. "Dad. Mom. What are you saying? Aren't I your son?" However, right after, Ethan suddenly hugged me from behind, his head on my shoulder, whispering softly in my ear, "Wife, it's so late, when do we consummate?" Eric, who had been clamoring to leave, now couldn't say a word upon seeing this, stunned in place, staring at us with vacant eyes, his cheeks involuntarily trembling. Ethan's breath ambiguously brushed my ear. Where had I ever been hugged like this? My whole body shuddered, instinctively wanting to push him away, but he held me tighter. But in Eric's eyes, I was coyly protesting. Instantly, nameless rage surged in him. He stepped forward to separate us. "Ivy. You're my wife, how can you hug another man?" Yet I harshly pushed him away, left with only indifference toward him. "I'm already married and have no relation to you, even if there was, I'm your sister-in-law." "Sister-in-law?" Hearing this title, he looked even more incredulously at Ethan, that face so similar to his. He pointed at Ethan, voice trembling. He's my twin brother? When did you find him?" I sneered. "A few days ago, I found him in the slums. Originally planned to surprise your whole family today, but your Luna gave me a surprise instead." The guests outside were urging, no matter how I called you, you ignored me, so I had to change grooms. Upon hearing this, Eric's anger surprisingly lessened, and he even sighed in relief. I knew it, how could you marry another man? It must be because I wasn't there, you had no choice but to have him temporarily substitute for me, right? After all, he looks like me, the guests wouldn't notice. Then, he arrogantly said to me, you can't live without me, how could you marry another man? Fine, since that's the case, soften up to me, and I'll make up the wedding with you, how about that? As for you holding a wedding with my brother, I won't pursue it, after all, you had no choice. He thought I would humbly clutch his sleeve as before. But now, I sneered, then grabbed Ethan's arm, husband, let's hurry back to the room, don't let him delay our auspicious moment. Upon hearing this, Eric's mood swung wildly again, he quickly grabbed my arm, what do you mean? Ivy, he's just my substitute. You don't really plan to turn the act into reality. Ethan didn't have such a good temper, seeing Eric grab my hand, he got angry and punched him, what act turning real? My wife and I are real from the start. Eric painfully clutched his face, shouting at him, you're just my substitute. If I hadn't had a sudden matter today, I'd be the one beside her. What are you? I didn't respond to him but directly picked up the remote and played today's wedding video on the big screen. On the screen, I entered happily in my wedding dress, my father handed me to Ethan, and we smiled at each other, like a pair of deeply in love couple. Seeing this, Eric's heart suddenly felt wrenched. Then, at the tea serving to in-laws, it was clear they recognized he wasn't Eric, but they still accepted our tea and agreed to our marriage. Finally, in the vow segment, it wasn't Eric's name recited, but, do you wish to spend your life with Ethan, in poverty or wealth, health or sickness? And I firmly answered, I do. The next second, we kissed amid the guests' blessings. Originally, Eric wasn't that broken, but watching the wedding replay before him, the impact was no less than when Ethan hugged me from behind. He stared incredulously at the big screen, lips pale, bitten to bleeding. Impossible. This can't be. He's just my stand-in. Why did the MC call his name? Ethan added insult to injury, didn't you say we were acting turning real? Whose act involves kissing so long? I was a bit embarrassed and pinched his waist, the elders are still here, why say such things? Eric still couldn't believe it all, face ashen, body trembling. At that moment, footsteps suddenly came from outside. We all looked toward the sound, I recognized at once, it was Luna. At this moment, she was wearing a luxurious little white dress, high heels, heavy makeup, holding flowers, gazing affectionately at Eric. She glanced at my wedding dress, thinking Eric and I had finished marrying, her face disappointed. She walked to Eric, saying aggrievedly in a hoarse voice, Eric. I fell asleep in the hospital, woke up to find you gone, you didn't answer my calls, so I guessed you'd come to marry her. Congratulations on finding your happiness, I'm here to say goodbye, I'm going abroad. Though her words were sincere, her attire didn't look like for farewell, it seemed like for wedding crashing. Following her cue, I said, dressed like this, it doesn't look like farewell, it looks like you're here to ruin my wedding. You already ruined this morning's wedding, do you want to ruin the evening makeup one too? Luna naturally lowered her head guiltily, but verbally feigned pity, I didn't. Ivy. How could I be that kind of person? I sincerely bless you both, today's accident was purely coincidental. Accident? Your accident was quite something, I see no injuries, yet you can wear high heels, dressed so prettily rushing here. So what did you mean on the phone saying you were dying, urging Eric to see you one last time? Luna grew more guilty, only crying non-stop, I didn't. I really didn't, I was in so much pain then, thought I was dying. Eric was my greatest concern, so I wanted him to see me one last time, I really didn't intend to ruin your wedding. She glanced at Eric, and sure enough, he sided with her, Ivy. Who allowed you to speak to Luna like that? She's still a patient, do you really want to drive her to death? How can you be so vicious? Luna's lips curved in a barely noticeable smile, continuing to feign pity, Eric. Then I'll leave, my presence here might disturb you. It's a pity I didn't witness your wedding, but seeing you happy satisfies me. I'm leaving. Don't look for me anymore." With that, she turned to leave. Though saying leave, her steps were deliberately slow, clearly waiting for Eric to call her back. I sneered, then called her name first. "Miss Luna, please stay." Everyone looked at me confusedly. Why keep her? To scold her? Luna immediately stopped. Pity it wasn't Eric calling her, but no matter, as long as I scolded her, Eric would surely defend her. She turned back, but unlike imagined, I didn't scold her. Instead, I smiled and said, "Actually, I didn't marry Eric. Today I temporarily changed grooms and married his brother." Saying this, I leaned on Ethan's shoulder, sweetly happy. Eric just wanted to marry me, but how could I agree? However, since he so wants to marry, surely it doesn't matter whom. "Perfect, you're dressed so prettily now, why not marry here? His parents are present, and can drink the tea you serve." Eric couldn't believe these words came from my mouth. He never thought that I, who loved him so much, would now hand myself over to another. Upon hearing this, Luna's smile was hard to control. She lifted her skirt and walked toward Eric. Eric's face was displeased, with no joy of welcoming a bride. But Luna had already reached him, tugging his sleeve. "Eric. Actually, I've never forgotten you these years." Then, she looked at my in-laws. "Dad, Mom, in the future, I'll be filial and respectful to you." However, my in-laws glared at her. "No need. Didn't you say the same to your in-laws in your first marriage? Didn't you still divorce?" Everyone knew about Luna abandoning Eric to marry a foreigner back then. Luna immediately cried rivers, looking pear blossom in rain at Eric. Eric didn't look at her but sulkily at me, especially Ethan holding my hand. "Fine. Since Mom and Dad are here, we'll marry today too." With that, he pulled chairs for his parents to sit. "Dad, Mom, let the new daughter-in-law serve you tea." His parents naturally refused, roaring at him, "Serve what tea? A twice-married woman who's been pregnant, and ruined your wedding, why should she enter our family?" Then, they took my and Ethan's hands. "This is our daughter-in-law. We're the family. If you're obstinate and insist on marrying her, consider us not your parents." Yet Luna still offered the tea. But they didn't glance at it, even flinging it away directly. Seeing our family of four harmonious, Eric suddenly recalled on the big screen, the tea serving where they accepted mine and Ethan's tea. "Clearly in the wedding, you recognized Ethan wasn't me, why could you still accept Ivy's tea?" His parents answered bluntly, "No reason. At least Ivy wouldn't ruin others' weddings or eagerly become a mistress." Eric quickly helped Luna up. Seeing her cry like that, and me and Ethan discussing honeymoon plans, he was even more furious, directly declaring, "I don't care if you agree, I'm taking her to get the certificate immediately. From now on, Luna is my wife." Then, he even added to me, "From now on, we have no relation." He pulled Luna and turned to leave, but clearly slowed his steps. Luna only thought it was consideration for her high heels, her heart uncontrollably happy. After they completely left, the in-laws held my hand, apologizing non-stop. "Sorry, Ivy, we didn't teach this son well, making you suffer." I smiled. "It's fine, luckily I didn't marry Eric, or how would I have compromised in married life?" Luna's arrival wasn't a bad thing. Then, I pinched Ethan's hand. "Moreover, I feel he's quite good." My parents approached Ethan with instructions. "You have no house or car, why not stay at our home first, we'll buy for you later." Though he has no house, I do. My parents' action was merely to keep an eye on Ethan and set some rules. He didn't resist. "All right, thanks Mom and Dad." I took the opportunity to mention, "Right, Eric's job was arranged by me. It's inappropriate for him to stay in our company, let him resign, give him 3 months' salary advance." My dad nodded, "Naturally. If not for you speaking up back then, with his qualifications, why enter my company?" Then, he politely asked my in-laws' opinion. "In-laws, no objections?" "None. We now recognize only this son, whatever he does has nothing to do with us." Their gazes toward Ethan were filled with guilt. Even if he didn't want to forgive them, they still pulled him to ask endlessly. Only when we returned to the bridal chamber did they stop. Should we get the certificate tomorrow? Ethan didn't grope me but simply embraced me for peaceful sleep. Wife, let's get the certificate tomorrow too. Okay. And change your name while at it. The next day, we rose early to get the certificate, but the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance was packed, a crowd watching the spectacle. What's happening? Why is a foreigner shouting there? Seems a woman married a foreigner but didn't divorce, secretly returned to marry her ex-boyfriend, discovered by the foreigner who flew overnight, sigh, tragic. Isn't this bigamy? Definitely. The foreigner reported to police, and they're here. My heart jolted. They're talking about, isn't it Luna? I tiptoed to look inside. Police were dispersing the scene, only to see Luna pushed out by a foreigner, and Eric escorted out. Due to suspected bigamy, they had to give statements. Seeing them emerge, people pointed at Luna. Hey. That's the woman, right? Married abroad, yet dares secretly return to marry? Really embarrassing internationally. Eric's face looked terrible. Just moments ago, he learned the full truth. Luna's previous lies about fake marriage for green card were false. She and the foreigner were mutually in love. The forced pregnancy was also false. But the crowd didn't know the truth, still pointing at Eric. Hey, that's the male mistress, right? Oh, so embarrassing. Exactly. Now it's spread outside. The woman might still go abroad, but what about this man? TSK. Eric had never experienced this. He valued face most. How could he let others mock him? He quickly looked up to explain he was deceived by Luna. However, he saw me held by Ethan. At this moment, my expression toward him was no different from these spectacle-watching onlookers. His mind buzzed suddenly, blood surging upward, his previously pale face instantly turned livid. They were taken to the police car, and we hurried inside to get the marriage certificate. Seeing this, he finally panicked, ignoring the police beside, rushing toward me. Ivy. Don't marry him. Don't get the certificate with him. However, the next second, he was pulled back by police. Hurry to the station with us. He began humbly begging the police, Officer, I'm innocent, I didn't commit bigamy, that's my wife, please let me go, or she'll get certified with another, please. Let me say a few words to her, or she really won't be mine. The police ignored him. She never belonged to you. Her husband is standing beside her. Stop nonsense, come with us. Resisting, he cried out, Ivy. Don't get the certificate. Please wait a bit more. When I return, I'll marry you. This time I won't abandon you. I'll give you the grandest wedding. Don't marry him. He grew up in the slums. He's utterly unworthy of you. He must be with you for your money. Please, Ivy, don't go in. There's still time, wait for me to come out. Actually, I never wanted to marry Luna. It was just yesterday's stimulation from you marrying another that made me marry her in a fit of pique. I thought you'd be jealous, you'd retain me. It's all my fault. Now knowing the truth, I see my heart clearly. No matter how he begged or called my name, I ignored it, even directly pulling Ethan into the Civil Affairs Bureau. Ivy. Come back. You can't do this. I'm your husband. I'm the one to go in with you. You can't. Ivy, come out. Despite disregarding the crowd's gazes, struggling fiercely, he was outnumbered and ultimately dragged away by police. Meanwhile, I obtained the marriage certificate and walked out side by side with him. After finishing his statement, Eric rushed out, fearing I'd already certified. However, I directly posted the marriage certificate on Facebook. Seeing it, his heart twisted like a knife, frantically searching for my figure. Yet he searched the city almost entirely, places I'd repeatedly mentioned wanting to go with him, but nowhere my figure. He even went to the company, thinking I'd gone to work. Not only didn't find me, but was informed he was fired, and his job would soon be replaced by Ethan. He shouted at former colleagues, on what grounds? He's just a factory thug, why replace my position? The colleagues didn't indulge him, cursing back, you still think you're Miss Ivy's fiancé? Daring to shout at us. Get out. Former colleagues who once elevated him now had opposite attitudes. Just like past me who obeyed him, compromised, but now didn't bail him out, instead marrying another man. This huge disparity made him completely unmoored. He took his things home, wanting to ask my whereabouts, but found his parents absent. He quickly video called them, only to find them honeymooning with us, words full of praise for us. This daughter-in-law is so good, fearing we'd be lonely at home, brought us along. This place is truly beautiful, we can't return to cook for you, make do. Then, they hung up, completely ignoring his unemployment and becoming the city's laughingstock. Even his parents' attitude changed. Over these years, he knew how guilty they felt toward his brother. In the future, they'd probably only recognize him. Eric looked at the empty home, unable to hold back anymore. Originally, he could have had a wife with eyes only for him, a happy family, a perfect job, an enviable life. But now, all gone. It was all his own fault, but he never thought I'd change hearts so fast. Clearly before, I was so tolerant, always indulging him. Thinking this, he covered his face and wept. If given another chance, he'd cherish me well. But, where's the regret medicine in the world? Later, Ethan gradually familiarized with this name. He worked diligently at the company. Without Eric's heirs, everyone liked him. Eric, like his past obsession with Luna even after her marriage, now obsessed with me even after mine, I became his white moonlight. But I didn't indulge him, directly deleted and blocked, no Facebook posts, even mutual friends didn't know our happiness. Eric, without my news, initially inquired frantically, but learned I was pregnant. He became utterly disheartened, bought a ticket and left, never seen again. Later heard he and Luna were still secretly together, thought he couldn't change, but news came again, he attempted murder. Luna was harmed into a vegetative state by him, her husband ignored her, divorced her, she'd spend her remaining life dying in hospital. Eric ended up with life imprisonment, no one visited him. His parents still had feelings for him, but busy caring for me and the grandson, couldn't go abroad. Though Ethan still hadn't forgiven their abandonment, he didn't stop them from seeing the grandson. Our family could be considered 3 generations under one roof.